The president, by executive approval, as a result of, I'm sure, the letter we all saw from the secretary to the president, has approved the deal. The mere fact that it was done by executive approval at least lets you know that at least the president had the authority to do so. So whether it went to cabinet or it was not taken to cabinet, personally I believe at least the president had that power, and I think nobody can.
Except Mr. Mutsuwakilu is indicating that if it had gone, because the president in this instance is suggesting that he was misled, but he's saying that if it had gone to cabinet, he would have had the benefit of other ministers and other advisors having a say or inputs into the deal.
The bottom line at the end of the day is that that particular deal no longer holds. I mean, this is a government. Basically, at the end of the day, that whose attention was drawn to an issue with regards to this Ameri deal. The president had the opportunity to take a second look at it. As a result of that, this particular deal is off. I know when Parliament resumes from its recess, this particular deal will no longer be on the table. And the minister who was responsible for this particular deal has paid the ultimate price by losing his job. So
but is it the case, Mr. Ahi, is it the case that the energy minister was the only person, or the president based his decision? As
it stands now, the request for such a deal cannot be made by 4 or 5 ministers or 10 persons. Definitely not. It comes from the energy minister, and the energy minister would have also undertaken all forms of consultation or other things in order to be able to bring that document to the president. So it's definitely, I'm definitely certain that before it came to the president, other persons looked at it. And I mean, we are talking about somebody of the caliber or stature of Agyarko. We all know him. So definitely, whatever be the case, once a document like that comes from him, you can presuppose that definitely it should have gone through the scrutiny of certain persons before being brought to the president. But as I've said, whatever be the case, whether the president gave approval or not, bottom line is the deal is off. The minister has paid the price.
Now, we are aware that there were just, 2.5 years for this deal for us to complete the Ameri deal, and then the asset reversed to the state. Now that we've taken the decision that the energy minister has to pay the ultimate price for it, what's going to happen to the deal itself?
I wouldn't be in a position to say what's going to happen to the deal. What I know is happening or has happened to the deal is that the new deal that was sent to Parliament no longer holds. That's what I know about it.
And following this, we've had a number of remarks, again, being made on social media, but also the mainstream media. But let's get into the discussions. And I have here with me Manuel Chairman Agyarko. He's a member of Parliament for the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And it's a delight to have you, sir.
I'm happy to be here.
And George Law is a former member of Parliament for North Dying, but also a legal practitioner. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, it's been a
long
while.
time.
Yeah, I've been in and out and been busy doing a few things.
Doing some few things.
Yeah.
I thought you were. I haven't heard your name in the NDC.
Oh, well,
the names that are popping up to run for national position.
My name will pop up, but fortunately, I have decided to take a role for now that I think suits me best.
Which will be where? National level?
No. I'm contesting the regional
secretary.
Regional secretary should be in the Volta.
In the Volta,
okay.
Yes.
You want to be very instrumental.
Well, we want to deploy our best assets to the grassroots.
Well,
but that would mean you are relocating.
Well, not necessarily. I've always been very active in the Volta region, even though I live in Accra. And today's world.
I think the Volta region is just here. So.
Yes, 1 hour 30 minutes away.
You are there.
Always 1 hour 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were days when I used to do whole 5 days a week. cool.
Well, it's always good to have you. But let's get into the discussions. And we know what has transpired since yesterday. We had the energy minister being sacked. We just had the spokesperson for the presidency just on the line with Israel Lai in Prime News yesterday. But your own initial remarks, and I know that we should say that because he's your brother. So this also comes home and touches home than
yes. Well, thank you for having me.
Incidentally, you're in a white shirt too. I don't know whether it means anything, but
I think it is decent to be in white every time. And good morning to my very good friend.
Good morning, bro.
Yes, I think the caveat is clear. Boakye Agyarko is my brother. Indeed, I come directly after him. He's my brother. Yeah, he's my brother in whom I am extremely well pleased. But he was offered a job by the president who contested elections and was mandated by the good people of this country to govern for 4 years. The constitution is very clear. The president shall have a cabinet. Who will advise him, who will work with him. Okay. So, and in all of this, I have never received one myself. In the scroll that they give you on your appointment, it is clear that you will serve at the will and the pleasure of His Excellency the President. A man has a mandate from the people, and he calls you to assist him. At a certain point in time, it is his prerogative to decide that I will change you, and that is exactly what the president has done. It is well within his right. So one cannot say too much about this. He appointed him without consulting all of us.
Are you very close to the energy minister? Your brother?
Me? Oh, I'm extremely close. He's my brother. We are two brothers. We're a family of five, three girls and two.
When all this was going on about the agreement sent to Parliament, etc., and the reaction thereof, how was the mood like? What was the response from him? I mean, when you discussed it.
I think what I would want to say, I would not want to speak too much to it, but what I want to say is that I think he's okay. I was with him until about 12 o'clock yesterday night. I think he's okay. We had lunch together. We ate some corn later on.
The normal corn, the roast corn that we buy.
The boiled corn.
Okay, the boiled.
Yeah. I think he's okay. He's okay. He clearly understands that this can happen anytime. It is entirely at the pleasure of the president. But all of this was welling up, and something had to give. I think it is okay. I mean, I think that.
So you're saying he saw it coming?
Well, I wouldn't say I saw it coming. It is in the bosom of His Excellency the President. But the Chiefs have a saying, something was bound to give with all the noise, but it's
well, just about 40 or so, even though it's indicated on the screen 35 minutes ago, his official or his personal page on Facebook, he says that when the dust settles, my side would be heard. And he said, thank you. Was that the response he told you as well? That he may...
Well, I am seeing this. This is
you were with him yourself?
I am seeing this. My answer to this is that, you see, in the Bible, one day somebody was healed and the Pharisees were questioning the parents. The parents said, the man, he's an adult, he will answer for himself. So I think we should leave it at that. If that is what he said on his page.
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but okay. as somebody who was committed to his work.
Yeah.
How committed was he? Because he's had great, if you look at his CV, his work with, is it the Bank of America, New York?
Bank of New York.
Okay, Bank of New York,
Yeah.
etc.
I think he's people who know him from Methodist School through Mfanspem and Legon would be the best to testify about him. He's my brother, and when you are related by blood, you must be extremely guarded in the things you say or you don't say. You might want to say you blow your own trumpet, but I believe that posterity will always be the best judge, and we should leave it at that. For me, I would leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. So, George, let me go to you. What do you make of the decision that has been taken by the president in the first?
Well, Roland, good morning, and good morning to my very respected brother. And good morning to all our viewers, particularly my people in the Volta region, whom I seek to serve.
Should charge him money or he's campaigning?
Should they be magnanimous enough to elect me as their next regional secretary?
He's campaigning.
And I'm confident they will. Roland, let me also say that I respect my brother here so much, to even have the courage to make the few comments that he made concerning this matter. I agree with him when he says that the president has the prerogative to hire and fire. But you see, in spite of that blanket statement, in law we say that discretion should be exercised judiciously. In this matter, and he said it right when he says something had to give. It was blowing up. We all were following it. Everybody could tell something was amiss somewhere. I think that, and I'm happy that Honorable former Minister for Energy has said that when the dust settles, he will tell his side of it. I'm interested in his side of the story, because for some of us, if you follow through what is happening, we cannot leave it at the fact that let the minister go.
I don't get you.
I am saying that sacking the minister is not enough.
Why not?
Because in as much as he may be part of the problem, we are saying that the buck and the bigger buck stops with the president.
Who decided that? The NDC?
Well, the NDC has said that variously, but I am saying that if you do an analysis of all the circumstances, the buck should stop with the president. The president, if we had the opportunity, but for the fact that our constitution was what it was, and for the fact that the majority in parliament will make it impossible, I would have said that the president should be impeached. Now, ask me why. Roland, we've given the president two options all the time to do anything. The first one is that you consult your cabinet, which, even though you appoint them, we approve them for you via our elected representatives. That is why they face the appointments committee, to ensure that the people you've appointed, we approve of them, right? And so we believe that those people are competent as a group to help you administer us. But when you choose to bypass these people and give an executive approval to a deal, you cannot, it doesn't lie in your mouth to come back and tell us that you were misled. It's marks of incompetence, it's marks of lackadaisical attitude to work, it's marks of taking Ghanaians for granted.
There's not been any formal statement from the president.
Please.
Giving us any indication that's saying that the present position or the presidency's position.
Listen, the people around the president.
That he was misled.
The people around the presidency says the president was misled. And I am saying that
point of order.
That's point of order.
That is communication.
Nobody in the presidency has said he was misled.
I said
it was a newspaper.
No.
Oh, come on.
No.
Give us a statement.
No, Gabi, for instance, put it out that the president was misled. And who is Gabi? Gabi is so close to the president.
Who said? I disagree. It was a newspaper.
You see, Honorable, please, I beg you, with all respect. So I am saying that.
So you're saying from the statement from Gabi Agyarko and their handles, etc. You use that to make a conclusion that's the position of the president.
Sure, one. Two, and more importantly, the president signed this. So is the president saying he didn't read it?
The president didn't sign his...
Please, I am saying that, you see, when you have a secretary, if you know how things work, So you are telling me that my secretary takes a process to court, and then when I get to court, I'll tell the judge that it was my secretary who... is that how you are paid to work? When you give an executive approval, it means that at your level, you think that you even understand it so much so that you don't need extra advice from cabinet, and you are satisfied with what you have put out there. So clearly, the president reneged on his responsibility to the state. And that is why I'm saying that he should have been, I mean, if we are the way, we should impeach him. He has shown clearly that he's not taking us seriously, he's taking us for a ride. And look, the fallout of this, why we are discussing all this, is not simply the fact that maybe some clause or something. Because I expect that before you even do an executive approval, did the Attorney General look at the deal? And did she okay it? Did he give it a clean bill of health? Who also looked at it? Or the president is in a habit of asking, okay, sign it. Oh, when I come out, sign it without reading. Roland, we must begin to thoroughly. And which other thing did the president not been well briefed on? The Kelvin GVG that raised all those things. Kelny, whatever. That raised all the that we are still trying to deal with. Is it one of those things? You see, here is a case where we are saying that we are a country, we need resources to build. But look at the way we are throwing our resources about. Potentially, if what VRA, who are the experts, are saying is anything to go by, we're going to lose over $900 million. Why? In Kelny GVG, we're going to lose so much money. There are even the car power, bust, and all those other things. We are throwing good money away, and we are saying that we are what? Keeping the national purse. Please, I think that we should begin to really descend on these kinds of things heavily in this country. President Akufo-Addo has failed in his duty to Ghana, and that is what we should be talking about. As for sacrificing the energy minister, we know what it is. The energy minister could not have arrived at these conclusions, this novation agreement, agreed to all the without the express permission of the president. I am so convinced about that. Because it's such a large, I mean, 1.2 billion or so.
Over 15 years.
It doesn't matter. What matters is that it's 1.2 billion. And we should not take these things lying down. Because if the critical mass of this, of the society in this country, the CSOs and others had not raised this issue to this level, we're going to sit there, we're going to use their numbers in parliament to pass it. And we're going to lose all this money. And then tomorrow we turn out and say we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, we don't have money for this, we don't have money. People will die and we won't have ambulances and all that. How can we be going on this tangent? I think that this doesn't pacify some of us. I believe more critical questions should be asked of the president. How is he doing his job? Has he relegated his job to other people who don't even understand what they are also supposed to do? Roland, there are many more questions to be answered. And I think that Ghanaians should continue to probe.
Well, Roland, in a democracy, it is fine to ask the questions. You see, but I think that my good friends in the NDC are developing this pension, is that how the word?
Pension.
Depending on what people say on Facebook and
but that's not a fair comment.
No, I will cite two examples. Number one, there was going to be a mid-year budget review. I don't know where it came from, but I think it was just a post on Facebook. For 1 week, all the discussion was that the Akufo-Addo government was going to increase VAT.
And you ran away from that. When we descended on you, you took a back door and you ran away. And you slipped in something even worse than the VAT.
That is all that happened. Number two, in this instant matter, again, a newspaper reports that the president is misled.
But the Statesman is not a mean newspaper, is it?
Let me tell you, Roland.
Yes, sir.
Many years ago in Egypt, there was a newspaper called Al-Ahram.
Is it Abraham's time or
no?
Al-Ahram is still the biggest selling newspaper in Egypt.
It is called the authoritative Al-Ahram. But I can tell you that the authoritative Al-Ahram sometimes made mistakes. So I will take a statement from the office of the president, signed by his press secretary, or signed by the minister for information. This business of some newspaper and some alleged close links with the presidency means nothing. Look, there is a matter that confronts this nation. I believe that some issues were raised. His Excellency the President, in his wisdom, decides that let's stop this. And he even goes ahead and says that in my prerogative, I remove the minister. What again do you want the man to do? This government had thought of banning, having a close season for fishing. Similarly, I believe that in the cabinet meeting that it was decided that this matter, the Ameri deal, would be withdrawn. Government again decided that based on some I think that what I have read is that the communication had not gone down well.
The buy-in was not done.
Yes, so we are postponing it. That is what governments do.
Now we're told that the spokesperson for the presidency, the director for communications, is indicating when Parliament resumes, it could be withdrawn. Because now it's not been withdrawn from Parliament.
Yeah, it's not. Parliament is not in. Yeah.
And you're a member of Parliament, so that's a good thing. He's a former member of Parliament too. But the structure of the Novation Agreement, as you saw it, as even sections of the majority looked at it, the way it was, and the criticisms that followed it, even outside Parliament, were right. Or perhaps had some good reasons for the president to have a second look or a relook at.
I will stay away from this matter as much as I can. I will.
For good reason.
Oh, for good reason. I will stay away from it as much as I can. But I think how it should be looked at is that ultimately the buck stops on his table. He has decided that yes, nobody can see that the president will not be privy to this matter. And he says that I decide that this thing should stop. He could have said that in spite of what everybody is saying, let it still go on. He decided that let this stop. He must have good reason. Okay. Right. Just like he decided that let the close season stop.
Well,
you see, Roland,
from all the computation, it was a bad deal.
You see, Roland, bottom line is that is the whole point. So there are only two things here. Honorable Agyarko has gone at pains to say that the whole concept of the president being misled is neither here nor there. He doesn't buy it. I agree. If the president was not misled, then he okayed that thing with two eyes widely opened. It means that one, the president is incompetent because he doesn't understand the issues. It means that the president reneged on his responsibility to do due diligence when documents are presented to him. It shows that the president is not up to his task as head of state of this country. Because if we are saying in one vein that he was not misled, then it means that to have okayed with the executive power for the thing to transmit to Parliament minus cabinet approval, it just tells us that.
Well, the president has advisors. He doesn't necessarily need to be looking at every document that comes.
It means it's even better because it means that not only is the president incompetent, his advisors are incompetent. So we have a band of incompetent lawyers running the administration.
George, are you saying that this is the first time in the history of this country?
Please, we are talking about Ameri.
Oh, come on.
And we are saying that executive approvals have gone in and out of Parliament.
I don't think.
I haven't heard any that has gone bad to this scale, to the extent that we are asking that the whole contract be withdrawn. And look at what has gone on. Civil society, VRA, all the people who matter in the energy are saying that this is not on. It means, look, $927 million or so dollars. It's no joke, Roland. Do you know what that can do for the Volta region, for instance? No, let's get this right. We are saying that this, for me, smacks of all the things that I've said. Smack of the fact that the president got up to the job. The president has no understanding of some of these things. If he didn't go to him and it was only his advisors who looked at it, then his advisors must be looked at again. Because if I were the president, I would fire everybody around me based on this one alone. Because I mean, look at people like the Deputy Minister for Information, Kojo Oponkruma. He was defending this thing to the hill. It means that he himself was just talking. He didn't know what it was. For the president to come back and say, okay, I think that this thing is not on anymore. I'm now convinced that it's a bad deal. So that we are able to...
Say it's
please, his spokesperson says that they are going to withdraw. Oh,
why they are going to withdraw something?
If the thing is a good deal, why withdraw it from Parliament? When the thing is, you want to fire your minister in charge of it. Look, you see, let's be very, very, very circumspect about this one. I am saying that it means that even the minister, government's official spokesperson, who is the Deputy Minister for Information, did not understand or was not competent enough to talk to the issue. If he were, he probably would have been saying different things from what he's saying. And don't forget, even is it ASEP they call them? ASEP. The man who has been asked to take over as minister used to be at ASEP.
Yes.
He used to work there. The Deputy Minister for Energy used to work there, isn't it? They came out to say this is a terrible deal. So what does he tell you?
Which people? ASEP?
Yes.
Or the
Deputy Minister? I'm saying that ASEP. So the two, even, you know, the NGO or whatever, the organization, the thing that when they even some ministers, but including Peter Mewu, who has been asked to take over as energy minister, used to work. They saw that this American deal, a bomb.
Roland.
So it tells you that there's whole continuum totally wrong.
Two things.
Yes, sir.
My friend George is sitting here and pretending as if this is the first time a matter has gone this way.
You are saying it's normal now?
No.
If it happened before.
No. I say that in our fourth Republican exit, this is not the first time a matter has gone and government decides to withdraw it. It happens all the time. Okay. George, you have been in Parliament.
I am saying not on this scale, to the extent that the minister is even fired.
That is the more reason why. And secondly, unlike some other dispensations where everybody would say that this matter is wrong, this matter is fishy. Some other governments still went ahead and presented it and passed it.
No, what are you talking about in relation
example?
to?
Even the original American deal.
It was bad.
What did they?
Are you saying the original, was bad?
Yes, why not?
If original was bad, then this one, I don't worry. This one,
I don't worry. But I am saying that, let us look at it. In one case, a government decided that in spite of what ASAP said, in spite of what Emani said, in spite of what civil society said, in spite of what everybody else said, they went ahead and did it.
And then you had the opportunity to correct it, right?
In the second case,
and you wronged the wrong.
They presented a matter. ASAP said it. Emani said it. George Lowe said it. NDC said it.
Yes.
Even when it had gone, that government decided that I will withdraw it. Compare and contrast the two.
Because the first one, obviously now, we know was not bad.
Oh, really?
No, we try hindsight. We know that he wasn't bad.
Really?
Yes.
Tickle yourself and laugh.
No, clearly from what you have done, seeking to correct what you think that we are. So what are you correcting? What are you correcting?
Are we oblivious of the issues in this country?
Oh, no.
Oh, come on.
No, because you say you don't want to talk about this one. That's why I don't.
The same that you are quoting today stated categorically that this was overpriced by a certain amount.
And now you overprice times 500%, times 600%, 1,000%.
Okay. Assuming it is overpriced by 1,000%. Yes. The government appropriately has said that because we have noticed this, We have withdrawn it.
No, did they notice or because people talked about this?
But
I'm saying that we,
whether you notice
in our time,
the notice is always
in our time,
people.
in our time, today, with hindsight, everybody is saying that the first marriage deal is good.
Oh, who is saying?
All the technicians.
Who is saying?
Oh, go VRE. They made a comparison. Yes, they made a comparison.
Oh, come on.
Yes,
they made a comparison. They said that compared.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
All right, but let's go onto the phone lines. Let's look at some transparency issues and some integrity issues. And let me speak to Michael Boakye. He worked with Ghana Integrity Initiative. Good morning to you, Mr. Boakye.
Good morning and good morning to you.
Yes, and the president has taken a decision. And the commentary out there is that, well, the president really seems to have a certain thumbs on making sure that issues of graft or corruption or perhaps malgovernance is nipped in the bud. Would you say rightly this sacking of the energy minister is in that direction?
You see, I am not comfortable with the many commentary that alluding corruption in the relieving or termination of the appointment of the energy minister, because we do not have any research or any investigation that suggests so. The president, the letter that is doing the rounds in the social media and so on, is also not helping matters because it did not assign any reason why the presidency is relieving Mr. Agyarko of his post. This, for us, is worrying because, you see, it leaves everybody in the realm of speculation and conjecturing, and it's not helping it because, you see, we have come of age where we have to lift governance and public policy into the realm of openness and transparency. And therefore, if the president was relieving Mr. Agyarko for perhaps something untoward, then he should have said so. And by saying so, it would have helped in the discourse, and it would have also elevated, the discussion properly, and lessons would have been learned in it. We would have learned the good lessons in it, in all this process. But that did not happen. Perhaps it may happen later. But I think that if indeed the president wants to fight corruption and carry everybody along, then they must be forthright with information.
All right. So for Ghana Integrity Initiative, you're saying that for all the concerns that have been raised by civil society, by the opposition in the other side of the political, by even some MPs themselves, whether within and even just normal social commentators, there's no indication giving you a certain sense that the former energy minister was dismissed, or the energy minister was dismissed because there was something untoward about a deal he sent to Parliament, which had received executive approval.
You see, we need to talk facts. We need to talk reality. With conjecturing, because you see, if you are making an allegation of corruption, you need to prove it. And I'm saying that, yes, a lot of things have happened. There have been a lot of issues with regards to the energy ministry. We all know, so I need not list them. But there are a lot of issues. Now, if the president is relieving the minister of the issues, I think he should say so. Why? Because if he says so, we wouldn't then interrogate the issue properly. Then the lessons thereof will be learned. But if he's relieving him, well, he has the discretion, the mandate lies with him, but he also must know that he's accountable for the discretion he exercises. And so the president should give us more and further, better particulars so that we can discuss it properly. Then people going into the office will know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. That is what we are saying. We are not saying that the president is right or wrong. No, we don't know the full facts. People are saying he's shown leadership. I would say that he would complete the leadership cycle when he makes information available so people can speak to it appropriately. We don't need to conjecture. We don't need to speculate. Because you see, Mr. Agyarko, perhaps if what is doing the rounds is anything to go by, then perhaps he's suffering from his own pronouncement. That, you know, he condemned the contract and the American contract, and perhaps had tabled, as the experts say, a worse contract than the American contract. So I believe that those of us who want to speak to the issue and educate the public, we must have more information, and we require and we encourage the presidency to make available this information so that we would have informed discourse about it. There are lessons in all these that we need to learn, but we cannot learn the lessons when we don't have the full facts.
Okay, so you're saying that for Ghana Integrity Initiative, you believe that the president has taken a decision for the energy minister to be sacrificed for something which is unexplanatory so far? I
do not know anything about sacrificing here, and I do not know I do not support the question as you've put in it. But what we are saying is that it is within the right of the president to determine who serves within his government. But when you are relieving people, there is definitely good reason why you are doing so. But for public education, make the reasons available so that it will help for learning and it will help for future decision making.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Michael Boakye works with Ghana Integrity Initiative, and they had been monitoring the subject as well. But one person who has been monitoring the whole issue is an energy expert, but also works in upstream petroleum. Kojo Yankson has been speaking to energy experts Kojo Poku, and we'll bring you excerpts of that interaction.
Every minister brings his document to cabinet. He has gotten all the advice from the ministry. Other cabinet ministers can only interrogate him based on what he has presented. And they can ask questions, and if he's well prepared and he can answer all those questions, a cabinet will pass it. So the fact that he went to see the president because of time, from what we've been told, it was time that made him go and see the president because he didn't have time to go through the whole cabinet session. Even if he had gone to cabinet, the Honorable Agyarko, I know, would have had his answers and convinced cabinet that this was a good deal. Maybe some would have disagreed with him, but in large, cabinet would have passed it. Cabinet sometimes doesn't always get 100% decision, but if the majority supports it, it will pass. So yes, if he went to the president directly and told the president a story, okay, and it turns out that the savings he talked of, the 400 million savings, is not a savings, then the issue of, oh, it's a better deal than the American deal because here all consultations have happened, and we find out that the finance ministry is saying that they have not been consulted properly, then you have misled the president. People are saying that the president should have done his checks and done stuff like that. My brother, if a minister comes to you to give you his assertion, you don't argue with him because he's the one that you've put there, and he's the one that if the chips falls, he's fired. So the president would take his word for it and give him the documents he needs to go and do his job. That is why he hire and fire.
So from your assessment then, this firing is not because Agyarko was disingenuous, but because he got the maths wrong?
Yes. He got the numbers wrong, basically. And for somebody whose strong suit is numbers, because he's from the banking background, it's unfortunate that he went down for the numbers. If you look, the memo that the man took to Parliament, if you go through it, I only went through it for 30 minutes, and I could spot 3 or 4 things that were not supposed or were wrong with the memo. So I'm surprised that the Home Minister would take that and sign that to cabinet to Parliament without spotting those contradictions. There are so many contradictions. In one part, there's a 52 million that the GOG says they don't acknowledge from Ameri, but then in a different part, they are saying that somebody is paying that on behalf of the government. If you don't acknowledge a payment, how does somebody pay that payment on your behalf? Then secondly, there are some, mathematical errors in some of the things that is in there, but those can be typos. But like I said, if the finance people have looked at it and he have gotten the finance minister on his board and the finance minister has signed it, then he would have known that, look, they could have spotted those things for him. But he went on it alone, and unfortunately he's gone on it alone.
Now, let's talk about Mary for a moment. In the run-up to this announcement from last night, we saw these two letters floating about from Mary. One of them giving someone the authority to initial some deal, but there seems to be some confusion. First of all, do you see a contradiction in these two letters? One of them giving authority to initial the deal, and the other one saying we were never involved in any discussions or commercial, negotiations.
Well, yeah, I read that letter, which was dated 31st of July, and there's the letter of authority dated the 24th of July. Now, the first impression I got when I saw the letter dated 31st July, I thought it was a fake. Okay, so I did my checks, sent it to a few people that I know that can communicate with the Mary people and find out, look, is this letter authentic? And it came back to say, yes, it was. Then my next question was that then the letter contradicts itself. The first paragraph seeks to say one thing, and the second paragraph says a different thing. The first paragraph goes to say that they are aware of the process, but they do not know that it had not gone through the right processes. It has not gone through the finance, PULC, Attorney General, and all those things. That is what the first paragraph seeks to say. Then the second paragraph goes to say that we have never been in touch with you, blah, 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 blah. But then the question is, if you've never been in touch, how do you give a power of attorney to someone to initial on your behalf? So, I mean, from what I know for a fact, Mary was involved. They knew about it. Medca was the one who was sort of liaising. Because bear in mind, Medca and Mary, it's all sort of one coalition because it was Mary that brought Medca. Okay? So they spoke to them. Mary saw the final agreement, they were happy with it, then gave somebody, which is the Akufo-Addo, an authority to sign on their behalf. So I don't buy that thing where they say that they were not aware of it.
Now, obviously, we're back to the Mary deal, the original Mary deal. Is this still the way forward? Can anything be done to make this deal better? Bearing in mind that the Mary plant is going to be going down in its usefulness to Ghana as the years go by?
Well, to me, there are a few things. One of the things that I think has happened is that when the politicians were making noise about Mary, from what has just transpired, they didn't understand why those think tanks, ASEP and the rest, were saying that Mary was bad. I think it was something they jumped on for political gain, because from what has happened, now that it's come to them to rectify it, they are struggling with the rectification. Because we saw the Addison and the Vicky Bright committee. To me, it's not a legal issue. Okay, yes, they came out with some findings and said that, look, this should be done, this should be done. It's a numbers game. If you look at how the numbers are stacked up together per kilowatt hour, how somebody is giving Mary something like 8 cents for 20 years in terms of fuel price. Okay, and Ghanaians are paying 14 cents for 5 years and then 10.4 cents from 6 years onward. And in that, there's about 8 cents of fuel that Ghanaians are bearing, whether the fuel is 1 cent or the fuel is 10 cents or whatever. Somebody has hedged a price of 8 cents over 20 years, which all those are problematic. And in any country, you don't go there and just start flying numbers around. There needs to be justification because it translates to me and you, our pocket.
You're an insider. Tell us, from your understanding of how this whole deal evolved from the time the NPP came into power, was Gabi Asare-Okyere-Darko involved with Mary at any point?
Well, you see, there are things I do, which is analyzing the energy sector, and there are things I called Biabankomo. I think the Gabi conversation is Biabankomo. In Ghana, people do conjecture, people do all sort of conspiracy theories, okay? And when you are close to the president and you do what you do, people will conjecture and have conspiracy theories that you are involved in those sort of things. I don't know for a fact if he is or he's not, but for me, I don't see how that impacts in any way the work that a minister is supposed to do. You know, I don't think that there isn't enough money around for somebody to be part of a deal. I have been part of deals that is done right, but everybody still get paid. So it could be the president himself involved in this thing, but it doesn't mean that nobody gets paid. Ghanaians could have saved about 500 million and somebody will still get paid. So look, everybody is in this thing for money. Politics is money because they spend a lot of money to come into power. So they have to spend a lot of money in 2020. So even if, let's assume, Gabi is involved, it doesn't mean that it should be done wrongly. There's even more reason why it should be done in the right way, because he's involved. I think that closeness to power makes you do the right thing than the wrong thing. So to me, but if at worst he is, so what?
The reason why I asked that is because now we have to look to the future of the energy ministry. Somebody will be appointed. Now, the question I want to ask is this. Do you feel that part of the reason why this went so badly is because there was too much interference in the work that this minister was expected to do? And is that something that ought to be cured for the future?
Well, if you know the man, Boakye Agyarko, I don't think you would think that anybody can interfere with his work. The man was very opinionated. He was big in MPP. Look, the man is still big in MPP. The fact that he's been relieved of his post as a minister doesn't mean he quits the party. But the man was the campaign manager for Nana. He's very close to Nana, very close friend, and the man is very knowledgeable. So I don't think he's a small fish in the party that he can be bulldozed around unnecessarily. So to me, I don't think his work was not influenced unduly. I don't want to stray into areas that I don't know 100% about, but knowing the character of Boakye Agyarko, I don't think even if that was the case, he will stand his ground and do the right thing.
Well, let's look to the future. Tell me, what sort of names would you be glad to hear the president consider for a replacement?
I would not want to get into that at the moment. I think one thing I can say is that the Ameri deal, if the president wants that negotiated, I think he should give the civil society to negotiate it. I think politicians should stay out of it. And I mean, I have some names I can give to them to consider it, so that they can, I mean, Dr. Ishmaelaka, former of ASEP, Boakye, Imani, myself, I mean, we are prepared to stand up and sit around the table and negotiate this deal for the government. I don't think politicians should be anywhere near this. If you give it to the civil society to negotiate it and whatever we come up with is the best that Ghana can get, then everybody will accept it.
Well, so Kojo Poku there speaking to Kojo Yankson. And, well, you heard many other things he said, but of course, picking things from what already has transpired, the speculations and what has been discussed already in the media. What would you have to say to these?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think that at the moment, I completely agree with what the gentleman from Ghana in Integrity Initiative said. The president's statement was, he didn't attribute reason, so it leaves room for speculation. People will say all sorts of things, but I would want to say again that there is some heat. His Excellency the President has decided that withdraw it. I don't think that he has even they have even made a statement as to the way forward. Will it be looked at again? Will we continue with the old one? But this is it, and I think it is a better situation than a situation where it is said that it is not good and we still go ahead and Ethiopia and do it. But concluding, I think that in the president's statement that he issued yesterday, he wished Boakye Agyarko well in his future endeavors. I also wish him well. I mean, just as the president wished him well, I also wish him very well in whatever he sets out to do. He's a young man. I'm sure he will want to do something with himself. But he's my brother, and we are Presbyterians. In the Presbyterian hymn, there's a famous hymn, "Courage, brother, do not stumble, though thy path be dark as night. There's a star to guide the humble, trust in God and do the right." He should take courage. I mean, it comes with the terrain. So it's fine. I will want to say that it is fine. I think the president has taken the best decision.
Okay, move on. Well, you speak before I get to the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah, well, basic. I think that there are many more questions to ask. And I'm very happy that Honorable Agyarko has said we haven't seen the end of this. He says,
Who said?
Your brother. He says when the dust settles, I'm sure he will say his side of the story. We wait for that time. In the meantime, we are still convinced that...
Speculating.
We are not speculating. We are still convinced that the man to take the bullet is the president. Because for us, the fact that he issued an executive approval presupposes that he has all the information and he thinks that this deal is in the best interest of the state. In the absence of that, then he had shown that he is not capable, he's incompetent, and he and his advisors are not worth sitting on the decks that they sit on as leaders in this country.
All right. 54 NDC aspirants go through vetting process in the Volta region. It's on page 18 of the Daily Graphic, filed by Timothy Jamboy. Boss, good morning. It's been a while. But let's look at, there's no future role for director shareholders of collapsed banks. We already know that's a new direction the Bank of Ghana wants to go. Yesterday, we had a legal representative of the former chairman of Sovereign Bank and all the issues that have been ongoing on. But there's already literature indicating that if the shareholders or those who play critical roles in generating funding for the venture in itself play a role, they tend to abuse processes, etc. Is that the way to go for the Bank of Ghana in trying to make sure that everybody is in the right, perhaps, space and operates according to what the regulations are?
Yeah, that would be the ideal thing, Roland. That would be the ideal thing. The rules are supposed to be regulatory. They are supposed to regulate the way banks and financial institutions operate, and therefore it would be good if the Bank of Ghana applied it. Question I want to ask is the Bank of Ghana coming to all this with clean hands? The answer is no. You see, when, in other places, the governor of the Bank of Ghana should be finding his way home by now. And the directors of the Bank of Ghana, because they have reneged on their responsibility to the people of Ghana. I'll tell you.
This new Bank of Ghana governor rather is coming to clean the system.
I'm saying that I'm an account holder of 2 of the banks. I have accounts in Beach, I have accounts in Unibank. How do you think I feel? And I've been banking with Unibank for over 10 years. How do you think I feel?
Your depositors saying?
I don't want to hear things like the depositors, because banks are not only for deposits. Banks are for many other things, and you keep your customers there because of maybe future expectations that you have. Now here's a governor who has come. He comes, he gives licenses, he licenses Beige and actually inaugurates it. What did he see?
When did he license Beige? I think you should look at the times.
Please. Let's go back.
We're told that there's an initial licensing process.
And then there's a provisional license, and then the license is confirmed.
Yeah. When was it confirmed?
It was confirmed in 2017, and it was launched in 2017. So clearly, I am saying that...
Well, the confirmation was in 2017,
yes,
now we're told.
Yes, so he should... What did he see before?
Some responsibility.
Yes. I mean, the Unibank thing, how long has it been going on, if anything was going amiss? You see, and I get, this whole saga annoys me, because even the new receivers and the guys that have KBMG, they call them.
Yeah.
How many years haven't they told that this is the best bank in this is the bank? Were they the ones not organized?
No, they are usually the...
It doesn't matter. I am saying that they were the ones...
They are the accountants or the auditors.
They are the ones going through the process and announcing to us that, oh, this bank is the best in this, best in that, best in
No, that's the banking awards.
Yes, I am saying yes.
The banking awards.
But the banking awards not organized by the Bank of Ghana. It's organized
I'm not talking about the Bank of Ghana. I've moved from Bank of Ghana. I'm talking about KPMG. I'm saying that the KPMG, they are the ones we know who are supposed to have done an analysis and decided that in this category, this bank is the best. In that category, this guy. Suddenly, they turned around and now they are managers, receivers for banks.
No.
I mean, clearly, I think that all these people are not coming to the table with clean hands.
But Joy.
Equity, when you are going to equity, you must come with clean hands. The Bank of Ghana, the directors of the bank must also bear responsibility for this. And you remember when the DKM came and President Mahama put some blame on at the doorsteps of the Bank of Ghana. Everybody said, he's blaming the bank, but he should take responsibility. Nana Akufo-Addo should take responsibility for all these things.
Oh.
Oh.
Yes. Because he appointed the governor.
Oh.
The Minister of Finance, who is technically the supervisor of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, must take responsibility for these things.
Today you are going all
Yes, because why? You think we are giving a minister fuel, driver, bungalow and things for fun? You think we are giving the governor all these things for fun? They must bear responsibility. Otherwise, they'll continue to lead us to the end.
Is it my turn?
So clearly, I take a view that in as much as you are telling me my deposits and things, I'm saying that you failed. And I'm not taking the Bank of Ghana seriously at all. When they talk about...
Even with all these...
I'm talking about all these, we are punishing directors and things like that. Why? UTE and Capital. For how long? Have you heard any action being taken? Have you heard any action being taken? Or is it that because the parties involved are favorites of the government or what? So I cannot take the governor and his team seriously when they are writing this in there. They are just doing propaganda. They must take action.
Okay. Some words before we wrap
up. I think I am surprised at the tangent of my very good friend.
You mean his tone? You don't like his tone?
No, I mean his line of argument.
My two bags.
But you see, the man is protesting to be General Secretary, Regional Secretary in the NDC in the Volta region.
But you know that
so he must be seen.
No. But you know that me and you, we are like this all this time.
He must be seen. He must.
If I have toned down because of that.
He must be seen to be very frontal and attack government.
No,
otherwise they won't vote for him.
You know that. Roland, you know that I'm more frontal than this one. So,
but now this is a cool down. I don't know.
You have cool down because
substantive issues. Number one, I think that there is a huge crisis. Huge crisis.
You feel it that we have a crisis. Oh. You sense it.
Roland, at the very least, at the last count, government has had to raise bonds worth 8 billion. 8 billion. Did you hear me? Worth 8 billion. So that the banking system will not collapse.
So where is all the money?
Hold on.
The one Baumia says is there.
Government has had to raise bonds. Roland, why you allow the man?
Yeah, but my time is up.
Oh, come on. Roland, government has had to raise bonds.
My time is up.
Look, let me tell you, just before we rose from Parliament, we approved a barter between Sino-Hydro and Ghana.
The Chinese and us.
Yes.
2 billion.
Bauxite.
2 billion.
Is it the bauxite?
The bauxite barter. Roland, 8 billion is as close to $2 billion. Today, people sit and say that we can't pay for free SHS. Why are you doing it? But we have sat down and 8 billion is almost gone to the drain. I think I agree. We must begin to ask some very serious questions.
Good.
Let us ask the questions not just of, Roland, I won't take this. No. Let us ask some very serious questions of the people that were responsible when all of this was going on.
The NDC.
No,
I am saying the people that were responsible. Ultimately, as for me, I want to look at as for a businessman, he's a businessman. He will do hanky-panky. It happens everywhere. But what was the regulator doing? Let us ask, when all of this started, what was the regulator doing? Roland, how can you go for liquidity support from a bank and on-lend it to somebody to go and buy a government shares in a government bank? And we all sat down with our two hands between our legs.
It's a web.
Roland, let me tell you, this 8 billion is hanging
my time is up.
Again, people approve loans when the banks didn't have boards. People approve loans when the banks didn't have boards.
Emmanuel Tremanting Agyarko is a member of parliament.
We should not look at that. When approving loans,
let me give you due.
It is important to look at the time scale. We must begin to look at the time scale. When was all of this thing happening?
Emmanuel
Tremanting, what did anybody do?
And yes, and what are people still doing?
All right. Emmanuel Tremanting Agyarko is a member of parliament for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. And George Lowe is a former member of parliament for North Dai. He's a legal practitioner, but he says that he's just gone through the process to be approved to contest a position of Secretary of NDC Volta region. I've started the activation for you. You used to be an agency man, so that's good.
Yeah.